traffic jam is on now.
I gotta ask the question because one of the things that is such a great storyteller. Give me your worst gig.
Oh, all right. I got to think of the shortest worst gig because,
Okay.
Man. Oh, man. Well, I tell this story on stage, but the worst gig I ever did, this will be the abbreviated version, was on a cruise ship. And I had never done a cruise ship before. And, I had heard that, listen, if you don't do well on a cruise ship, they helicopter you off the ship. Like if somebody complains, they're going to helicopter you off the ship. And my act, it's a New York act, Jewish comedian married to a black woman, everybody thinks we're Puerto Rican, living in an Italian neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, somebody's going to get offended and blah, blah. So I've always kind of stayed away from that, but like, give it a shot. And long story short, I end up doing this cruise ship, and somebody dies on the ship. Somebody fell overboard.
Wow.
And it was 7 nights of me, like it was like 6 nights, and I'm bombing, and every night I'm fighting with the crowd. I'm trying to, I was trying to adjust my material, and then somebody fell overboard. And so they said they're going to do a comedy show that night, and they had locked everybody in their rooms on the cruise ship while they were trying to investigate why this lady disappeared. Right. So they're like, so when I get to the showroom that night, everybody's bugged out. They've been locked in their rooms all day. Some woman fell overboard. The FBI was on the ship investigating. They stopped the ship in Mexico and all this stuff. And the cruise ship director came over, was like, don't say anything about the lady that fell overboard. And I'm like, listen, bro, we gotta, I have a job to do. You see all those people out there. We all know what happened. He's like, do not say anything about the lady who fell off the ship. So I'm like, fine. So I go up there and I'm just kind of making fun of the captain. The captain was Italian from Italy. So, he's like, yeah, welcome to the ship. We're going to look, the water, the fish are blue and green. And, and I'm up there making fun of the captain, and people are laughing. And I can't really do, they want to hear about what's happened. I can't talk about it. And people are laughing. It's going all right. And then it gets real quiet. And in the back of the showroom, the captain's standing there, right? And he starts heckling me. And he's like, hey, who writes your jokes? And I'm like, hey, who's steering the ship, right? And he goes, maybe if I write your jokes, I'm gonna get a bigger laugh. So I'm like, maybe if I steer the ship, people don't fall the fuck off. Ooh, right? The lights cut on, the mic cut off, right? I see the cruise director like, But I learned something very important, man. I learned something very important from that. And that was, I may never like cruise ships, but I love helicopter rides, bro. That's the abbreviated version.
You're watching The Traffic Jam.
But I know a lot of guys that do, and I do a lot of cruising, and it's so funny, like, I do private on the cruises, but I look at the community, so I understand. I'm like, you're in certain boundaries, and that's like with comedy. That's why certain shows you like to do, because you have a certain freedom. Yeah. There's no boundaries, like you can't talk about that. No, this and with cruises, like it's a corporate show. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, listen, I do them. I do all the corporate stuff. I'll do the cruises or whatever. I've got, as a comic that's been doing this a long time, you adjust your material. It's not necessarily that I'm blue or filthy or whatever, or it's that the what is it, the sort of criteria for what's acceptable changes, and they're always so worried somebody's going to get offended. Like, if I do my Puerto Rican super, whatever, somebody, they're afraid somebody's going to get offended or this or that. So I think it's like, it wasn't so much you can't talk with that particular thing, is that you can't talk about this. You can't. It was just a specific thing that we all knew what had happened, right? We all knew it's like, why can't I? I'm here to do a job for these guys. I need to address it, or I'm gonna look like an idiot, you know. And it got a huge laugh when I was talking. I mean, when I was talking to that captain, man, I mean, people were rolling because it was like, finally, this is the. But business is business. I understand, but that's the one that sticks in my head as one of the worst gigs.
So, your body of work, right? You get your Lifetime Achievement Award. What 5 pieces of work that you want them to highlight? Like, what is your legacy like? Like when they do this gig or that gig or this performance, what 5 performances that you want to be remembered by?
Well, I have this special I shot that's on YouTube now. People can watch it for free. It's on All Things Comedy. It's called Adrift in Predicaments, and it's a bunch of my stories, some crazy stuff that happened. I'm real proud of that because we did that with nothing. I did it. I mean, it was like, it's black and white. It's like, the stuff that after, this would have been 33 years of comedy, after minus this year where nobody's doing anything. The stuff fermented and culminated into, it's like what my voice is now. So I love that. I love that thing. And I'm trying to think, that's a hard question. What 5 things? I'd have to say, it was fun being an illegal tender. That was fun, being with Cesar, being the hitman in Illegal Tender. That was a real stretch. It was fun being in As the World Turns, being a bodyguard of the guy. I got a good story out of those things. I got great stories out of that I can talk about on stage. So it's like a combination of being in it and then getting a story out of it, getting material out of it. Oh, it doesn't get better than that. And I think maybe my first showtime at the Apollo, I can't find that anywhere. It's like that was the the one that's out there is like the 3rd one, but there was one, the first time I ever got up there, that was my first real like TV credit and everything. And everybody was getting booed off. Like Steve Harvey got booed off, and the producer came out. Steve Harvey came backstage. He was sweating. The toupee was at an angle. He's like, it was crazy, man. And I wasn't supposed to go on. I was just hanging out. But there was an act that was supposed to go on, and they were like, "We're not going on to this crowd. No way." So the producer came over, was like, "You want to go on?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll go on." And I went on, and it took a minute, but I got that that to me was like a real, I think one of my favorite things I've ever done. I can't even find that set now. But it was that moment, because I was scared, I was scared. I was like, man, everybody's getting booed off. The producer gets booed off. The host gets booed off. He's got to come back out there and make a speech, about how he's, and then bring me on. I mean, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. But you're young, and this was a shot. It's finally a shot to get on TV and put my stuff out there and have people see it. And it was great, man. That came out. People stopped me on the street and be like, "I saw that." And I always remember that. That might be the thing,
You're watching The Traffic Jam.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking your time, man. So you got is All Things Comedy. And what's the title? Is Adrift? What's the title of the?
Oh yeah. Okay, so All Things Comedy, ATC. It's Bill Burr's channel on YouTube, and they put up comedy specials. So my special on there is called Adrift in Predicaments, and it's just so there's that. If anybody wants to see that, if you go to my YouTube channel, it's just the DC Benny YouTube channel. Pretty much I try to do it every few weeks or so. I'll put up a new story. And you know, it's not stuff I've really talked about on stage so much. It's like what we're talking about now, but I have about 15 of those things up there now that are really there. I'm really happy with those. I'm really, you know, enjoy. I mean, you know, it's what's getting me through this COVID thing when we can't get on stage. Really, I'll just sit in the car and I'll do a little talk out. You know, they're rough. They're rough around the edges, but if people want to check those out, I appreciate it. They're really they're a lot of fun, man. So yeah, those are the two things I'll throw out there.
You're watching The Traffic Jam.
So these, I'd say I got the 5. Okay, what are your 5 favorite characters?
You know, the super. You know, the mira what happened. The toilet he done. Somebody he break it, that one. You know, I love this. And I do just random ones around the house that would make no sense. I do them like vocal warm-ups around the house. You know, so I couldn't even recreate them here because people be like, what the hell is he talking about? You know, but I don't know. And my wife's uncle, I like to do him. You know, what it is, brother. What happened was France. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to do it on the spot, man. But I kick around a bunch of characters. They rotate. I would have to say, man. I couldn't give the 5.
You're watching The Traffic Jam.
Now that we're so in quarantine, we're watching so much TV. So I like the thing that you're doing with Big Leslie. Tell me about that.
Well, Big Les, you know, I got a call from a guy, Lenny Marcus, this comic Lenny Marcus, and he's like, hey man, would you be interested in doing this supermarket sweep show that I've been working on with Leslie? And I knew Leslie, we went on tour in the Netherlands together and whatever. And I said, yeah, man, I'd love to do it. So he's like, all right, expect a call from Leslie. So Leslie calls me and she's like, you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. And she's like, what am I going to do? And she's like, I don't know. We're going to just stick you in there. Maybe you're going to announce or some shit, but I don't know. You're going to do something. But so in the middle of the pandemic, right when it was better in New York, but it just hit LA, and this show had been shut down like twice. They built a set in Santa Monica on an airplane hangar. We flew out there. I still don't know what I'm going to do. I got to get COVID tested when I get off the plane, whatever, get to the set. And I feel like I don't think the producers necessarily really wanted me on there so much. It was like Leslie was just like, he's going to be on there. That's what Lenny told me. They were like, well, you know, DC's and Lenny was like, Leslie's not asking. And they were like, okay. So, which I love to hear. I love to hear that, right? So I get there to the set. I'll never forget this. And they're already like, you know, what is this dude doing here? And I said, Leslie, what's up, Les? You know, what am I going to be doing? She's like, you're going to be like the cashier. She's like, you're going to be like, you know, the Manny from Scarface, but in the 80s with the collar pop, but at the cash register. And I just saw their faces like, school. I coach privately via Zoom, and I do classes at Manhattan Comedy School, comedic storytelling, very specific. Like if you have a story you want to work on, bring it to the stage, and maybe you got jokes in this and that, but you want to, it's a whole different art form. So that's you know, people can do that. They can hit me on Instagram at The Real DC Benny, and I'm out here, man. And then they can hopefully next season on Supermarket Sweep. You know, we'll see what happens. Right? Okay, dude, it's good seeing you, man. It's good seeing your face, man.
Same here, man. Same here.
Funny dude.
Thank you, brother, man. Good seeing you, man. Thank you for taking the time.
All right, I'll see you guys. Take care.
You're watching The Traffic Jam.
Hello everyone, my name is Natalie Chopin. I'm originally from France and Cameroon, living actually in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm actually a personal trainer and group trainer and functional trainer specialized in post and pre-pregnancy, transformation, wellness, weight loss. You can actually find me on Instagram, Natalie_WBFF Pro. Stay tuned. Second abs exercise, reverse crunch. It's much better for women to do reverse crunch, especially for those who already have babies. You have to make sure the arm of the whole actually your organ, you don't push down because you don't breathe properly. So let's go to the back here. Men, you can do as much whatever you like, what variation. For women, you have this angle. Your back is completely flat on the mat. You bring up. And you relax. You can just bring here your heels. And go very slow. And there is many variations. This is one. You also have straightening your leg. You can have here and just stopping here. Always remember to flatten your back.
This is the Traffic Jam.